Hey guys, what's going on? And welcome back to Powerwash Power Hour. So, we're back at it again with this game, or with this series rather. If you have not been in this series, there's a couple things I need to explain. So, because these aren't like it's not a series where this you need to watch a specific, you need to watch them in order or anything. Basically, this series is all about the idea of Markiplier. He did I forgot what his is called. It's called Powerwash Pals or something like that. Either way, he invented the idea of let's do like a podcast style thing while power washing, because why not? It's cool. And obviously, Power Wash Simulator is a pretty cool game. It's weird because it's cleaning, which nobody really likes to do, but in this game they make it fun. So we're taking his idea, and we're doing that same thing, except we're calling it something different. It's called Power Wash Power Hour, which was like a rejected title of Markiplier's thing. So we're using it because I think it's a cool name for something. And in the previous sessions, I've done one with Jeebens Phoebens, aka John. He's on the podcast. You've seen him all over the channel. Then I did a separate one with Axel, the Catinator666. You've seen him on the channel a bunch. Then we did like a co-op one where we did both of them were there. And now we're doing another one. And this time I have her name is Cherry Cub on this for some reason, but it's Legendary Cat, whatever. You know her as Isabel though because she's on the channel. She's a co-host.
Yo.
And all that jazz. So you know her as Legendary Cat, so I know it says Cherry Cub. That's just her Steam name or something. But it's going to be titled Legendary Cat, whatever the numbers are afterwards. So, I looked into what places we've been to, what places we haven't been to, and we have not done the fire station on the Power Hour yet. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Now, Isabel has played the game before. She has, I think is that the tier, the last tier?
Yeah, this is like the tier 4 one or whatever.
Okay,
whatever it's called.
She has the tier 4, but I don't believe you have the Trident nozzle, so you're not like fully maxed out just
Yeah,
yet.
I don't know where to find that.
You have to just beat the game. You have to do all the story missions.
Oh. I didn't do that yet.
The last mission is like a gigantic temple that takes a while, but it's really fun. But anyway, so yeah, we're just gonna be doing the fire station. I also noticed there's for any of you that watched Far Cry 5, there's like a Falls End water tower over there. Yeah, so we're just going to be cleaning. I'm going to probably start doing the front, Isabel, if you want to start doing the back. And we'll just get started, so.
Alright.
Well, what should our conversation start on? Because, there's always a starting point. I mean, your name is Legendary Cats. You want to talk about cats?
Maybe, but I'm more of like a dog person though. I don't know why. Maybe at the time when I named it, I was probably more of a cats person. I don't know why, but yeah.
Yeah, because we have 6, so for anyone that doesn't know, we've mentioned it a couple times. Not frequently, because it's not something that we really need to mention that often. But yeah, we have 6 cats. It started out as 1, and then unfortunately we actually used to have a dog, and she unfortunately passed away. But once she was gone, we wanted to get more cats because we liked the one we had. And dogs. At least to me and our mom, we were like, yeah, we don't want to deal with another dog again because they poop everywhere. They don't they're just much harder to train, and that kind of thing. And
yeah,
so,
dogs are usually like more harder to handle because you have to like it involves more training than cats because the cats just do most of the things by themselves. Like they bathe themselves, they poop and pee in a litter box. It's all easy.
Yeah, relatively anyway. But yeah, so we ended up getting 2 more cats. And because me and my mom went to a no-kill animal shelter, and found some cats. We really just went into like 2 rooms because the second room we had gone into was where we found the 2 cats we have now. And one of them like attached to me immediately, so I wanted her at that very moment. And my mom found one that she didn't know at the time, but it was her brother because they were in the same litter. So that was pretty interesting. So yeah, we got those 2, and then at some point down the line, we felt bad that Zach and Isabel didn't get a say in what cats we chose, so we took them down. They ended up choosing one of each of their own. So Zach picked one of his, and Isabel picked one of hers. Which, funny enough, now that we mentioned that, Isabel's cat literally cannot be away from her or her room for more than 2 minutes without like wanting to claw her way back into the room.
Yeah, the cat I picked literally has attachment issues from me. I don't understand why. I don't know, like, because I don't know if she immediately started that when we got her. I don't know if she was immediately like that or she just slowly got more attached to me and just would only hang out in my room because that's where I hanged out most of the time in our house.
Yeah. I mean, I think it mostly started when we moved because it's a new house, and with cats, they don't like change. They don't like their environment just changing on a whim. And which is what happened because we moved, obviously. So I think that was a big contender. And now I think it got especially bad when we got the. So now we have two dogs in our house as well. I mentioned, if you guys listen to the podcast, I mention all this stuff on the YouTube channel. I don't specifically mention very much about that kind of stuff, but on the podcast I've mentioned it. And yeah, so we have two dogs now, and I think ever since we got them, she's been really bad about it because she doesn't like them too much, so she just stays away from them. So yeah, I think it's gotten especially bad ever since we moved, but there was a glimmer of her like social anxiety, or not social anxiety, but like a
But like
separation.
socially now and actually coming out.
Yeah, so separation anxiety, I should say, because that's more of what it is.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, she's just I don't know. I mean, the problem becomes when she is far like she's been away long enough that she'll start clawing at things to get back in, which obviously damages property. So we want to make sure she doesn't do that.
Yeah, she's
Um,
gotten so bad at it that most of the paint on like my door is gone because she would scratch the lower part of it. And my mom, she bought me like this it goes on your door. It hangs off of it. It's basically they're like pouches that you can use as storage. Like the very bottom row is already destroyed. That's how crazy it's gone.
yeah, so she's pretty bad about that kind of thing. But with Zach's cat, he's not. He's actually one of the quietest cats I've ever seen. Usually cats like they meow and they do stuff, but like for some reason, I mean, he only meows like very occasionally. When he does, it's usually about food.
Yeah.
Or like I think there's one time where he was trapped in a room and he meowed a little bit to get our attention, but other than that, he's quiet as a mouse. So I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
they were both kind of weird when they picked him out. Um,
Yeah.
but in
Yeah,
terms,
because the cat Zachary picked out kind of like just eats anything, and that's even though that's weird for a cat, it kind of gets annoying when his cat just completely knocks over your trash can and you gotta pick everything up, and it just gets annoying.
yeah,
But
yeah, but then I don't know what drove us to get the sixth one because at that point there's five because we had one already when we went to go when me and my mom first went. So we already had one at that point, and essentially, well, I don't know. I think what ended up happening was we went onto the website again, the the place where we got the first ones, and we had seen a cat that was like, oh yeah, we like that one. And they were like, yeah, they had been there for a while, and we felt bad for them or whatever. Funny thing is, we originally went in for that said cat, but the cat we didn't end up actually choosing that one. We chose a different one because I had found a cat that was like he was super cute and he was super cuddly and stuff. Because we like cuddly cats. We don't like cats that are just like aloof and just don't do anything. Um, so yeah, we chose all of our cats are mostly cuddly. Zach's is definitely not. I would say Zach's kind of just likes to be alone and that kind of thing. Um, Sage, I don't know if she's cuddly, but she definitely has separation anxiety. So
I wouldn't really describe her as cuddly because at the time we got her, like I think like she's not cuddly because of me because I don't. Here's the thing, I'm not I get uncomfortable when like pets just rest up on me. I know it's a crime to like take them off when they're staying on you, but it's always been so uncomfortable for me because I'm a side sleeper and I don't just like lay up. And when I do, that's when the cats usually try to get up on me. But and then whenever Sage, whenever she would want to cuddle with me on like getting onto my stomach or whatever, I would like so ever gently just pick her up and put her down. And I think, and my hypothesis for why she isn't cuddly anymore is probably because of that. So I kind of am the one to blame, but it's okay. She's not mean, right? I mean, she is kind of a cuddler, but not really in the sense of what you think. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean, Zach's definitely not. Um, like I said, he likes to be around people, but he doesn't like. He won't like get up on you or anything. Um,
yeah,
and then the last
he
cat that
gives you
we
your
got,
space.
yeah, the last cat we got that I found and me and my mom both agreed we wanted him. He's cat number 6. He's definitely on the surface, it didn't seem like a cuddler because sometimes he just meows all the time, we assume like people. I shouldn't say we because I don't assume anything, but people assume that he's just hungry and he wants food all the time. But sometimes like he doesn't want food; he just wants to be picked up and held. I've noticed that. So he's cuddly sometimes, and he kind of tells you when he wants it. Um, so yeah, but the cuddliest cat for sure is. Not to sound biased or anything, but it's the one I first picked when we got her.
Yeah, she's definitely the most cuddly one. I
Yeah,
gotta agree with that one.
I would like. We have dynamics in our house. So like the first cat we got is super snooty. She's a torty cat. So if that tells you that, if you know about cats, you know what that means. But essentially, she's like she doesn't like any of the cats. So, I mean, she's okay with Sage just because, and Sage is Isabel's cat, by the way. She's okay with
Yeah.
that just because, or okay with her just because Sage doesn't really do anything. She just kind of avoids her. Really, she just kind of lets her have her own territory. Whereas like the boys, we have it's an even split. We have 3 boys, 3 girls. The boys love to chase her, especially Oreo and Toby, which are Oreo's this one our mom picked. Again, I've mentioned these on the podcast and stuff, so if you might know this already, but um, yeah, it's one of those things that they chase her all the time, so she doesn't like them too much. Um,
Yeah.
and then, but with the girls, it used to be that like the first cat would chase Willow a little bit, not too much, but just enough that Willow started to get sick of it, and she's starting to fight back now.
Yeah.
Not fight as in they fight like fist fight or anything, but just like if if the first cat's like hissing at her, she'll like hiss back, or if they get too close to each other, like Willow will be the one to like tell her to get off, like go away.
Yeah, she's basically just like telling the cat to like, hey, back off.
Yeah,
Yeah, she's
basically.
gotten sick of it.
I mean, yeah. So
But
so my cat is the one I'm talking about. She's like sort of the princess role. She's even gotten to the point where like, so we have a gate on the thing for the dogs, so they don't come upstairs because they're not allowed upstairs. And she's so pretentious that she wants you to. She can fully jump over it. Like it's not a gate. I mean, you know how dog gates are. They're not tall at all. But it's like she's so pretentious that she wants you to open the gate for her so she can get upstairs.
yeah, like she's jumping on beds so many times. Like there was no problem with just jumping over the gate. And my cat Sage is the complete opposite. Instead of like you opening the gate or like purchase or like trying to do like completely hop over it, she just pulls a whole Luigi jump. It just jumps from the the main floor to like half of the upstairs. Like it's so weird.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. It's definitely interesting, the dynamic. So and then our main cat, like the first one we ever had, she's like we call her the queen because she's like um because she's not a princessy type. That's the other one we just talked about.
Yeah.
But she's like the queen in the sense that she doesn't like anybody. Not obviously in relation to like actual royalty, but like just in the sense that she owns the place. She feels that she owns it. She pays here rent free basically, and all that stuff. So we call her the queen. We really just have those two dynamics. There's not really like I wouldn't call any of the boys a king because they don't really have any sort of like selfish behavior almost.
Yeah, they don't really have like any of the characteristics, I guess, but
Yeah. So we don't really qualify them as anything, but yeah. So enough about cats, though.
yeah.
Cause we don't want the entire thing to just be about cats. Because people that hate cats are like, well, I'm out of here. I don't want to listen to this garbage.
Yeah, they could just watch a podcast solely talking about cats
They can
if
watch a
they really
podcast.
want to do that.
You mean they can listen to a podcast?
I mean, yeah.
You can't
That's what I meant, yeah.
But what podcast should they be listening to?
The provokers which you can find in the description of the video.
Genius. Got a little plug there. Anytime someone mentions a podcast, it's customary that we gotta plug the podcast.
Yeah, it's law that you just gotta plug it. Like it would be a sin not to.
I don't know when this video comes out for you guys, but I'm assuming we're in season 2 at this point, which means that the season 1 finale of our podcast has ended. It was a 2-hour-long special. We did a little game show segment. We did a lot of cool things. We revisited some old topics that were really good. So yeah, just go watch that if you haven't seen it. Like I said, it's a 2-hour-long special, so sit back, relax. It's gonna be a great time. And then yeah, season 2 probably has started for you guys at this point, I would imagine. So go check that out. But yeah. So in terms of speaking of podcasts in general. There's only a select few people that know this. Revolving is one of them, but there's only a select few people that know this. If you join Char's tier, which is via the join button on this YouTube channel right here, in Char's tier, which is the highest tier you can get, it's all about the ARG stuff. So if you want some behind the scenes action, if you want some some of the posters for you wanted not posters, but if you want to use the posters or the thumbnails as a background, all that stuff, you can do it. So either way, it's basically you join that tier to get some special rewards in terms of the ARG. And one of those things is an ARG podcast. Now, it's not a podcast per se in the sense that it's not like the Provokers where it's an official podcast. It's more we're calling it a podcast because we don't have there's nothing to view. It's just audio. So it's like a podcast in a sense, but it's more like an unprofessional podcast, whereas the Provokers is a professional podcast. And we haven't done one in a while because obviously no one's on that tier yet. So we didn't do it yet. But we have there's 2 episodes right now you can listen to. I believe one of them's called Origins, which is funny because that's what season 1 was called. And in that episode we talk about sort of how to create a good how to begin a story, because people think some people, not all people, but some people think writing is super easy and that you just make crap up as you go along and it's gonna be perfect if you do that. But if you just make crap up as you go along, you're gonna run into a lot of different problems. A lot of those problems being that you're gonna run out of ideas, or you're gonna hit what's called writer's block and stuff like that. But if you do it right, writer's block doesn't actually exist. Writer's block is it's just a fancy word for procrastination, really. And so in that episode, we talked about how to build a great story and how that affects the ARG and that kind of thing. I forgot what the second one was called, but I know we talked about characters and how to create a good character. I forgot what it's actually called, but it's something along those lines. But yeah, like I said, I just wanted to mention that. So if that's something you're interested in, you could go check that out in the Char's tier. And like I said, there's 2 that are there automatically. But if you join it, then we'd end up making more. So because you get some behind the scenes action. I believe Zach and Isabel both were there for those episodes, so they'd probably be there for all the other ones too. But like I said, don't expect an official podcast. It's not like something. It's not like the Provokers where it's an official podcast that's on all platforms and all that jazz. But so some of the fans know this, especially if they watched Life is Strange 2. But you're very much into art.
Yes, I am.
So you want to talk a little bit about
that? Sure. So I guess I should talk about when I began art and my entire interest revolving around it. I think it started when I was late 7, early 8, I think.
Right.
I'm trying to drop this stool, but it's not working.
You press F to do stuff, yeah.
I know, but it's I'm breaking the game here. You know what? I broke the game. It's not working.
How'd you break the game?
I'm pressing F to drop it, but it like
What are you trying to do?
I was trying to move the stool. I was trying to move the stool to somewhere, but now it's like when I drop it, it just like
Here, let go of it. Where?
that's the thing that won't let me let go.
Press. Yeah, just press F. There you go. You placed it. Now where do you want it?
Oh my god, that took so long, and I do not know why.
Where do you want it?
If you, it was like supposed to be like right, yeah, right there is good. Or like yeah, somewhere like there.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you.
just gotta
I
look
don't know
down.
why that was such a.
You just gotta look down and press F.
Yeah, that's what I was doing, but like,
You didn't do it?
if you would understand if you saw my footage, I don't know what was happening. I was continuing to press F. Anyways, moving on from that whole shebang. So yeah, that's those ages were like the time I did start out. Yeah, obviously no one's good at art until you get like a lot of practice, because that's the thing with most talents. You can't like be good at it until you actually practice. And I didn't want to do art because I want to be good at it. I just found it very entertaining. I think the art I did start out with was like just simple drawing and coloring like any other child would. But then when I did get actually interested in it, I that's when I started to like draw video game characters like Mario, Luigi, Waluigi, Peach, stuff like those. That's what I did. I even remember drawing like a Waluigi. I didn't like I looked up a video on how to draw Waluigi, and here's a little technique that I do that most people would not do. I just draw like most like art tutorial videos. They post like the finished drawing as a thumbnail. That's what I do instead of watching the entire video. Since that's what I just did instead of having to go from basic. That's what I'll do. I'll just draw like from what I saw from the thumbnail instead of having to go step by step. So I kind of like skip an entire step of art, like how to be good at art. But hey, it's whatever works for you. That's then it works. And so yeah, what I end up doing with that, like that was like in I think that was in like 2019 or 20. I can't remember. It could even been 18 or like 2018. I don't really remember. I just remember like showing it to my dad since at the time he liked Waluigi as a character because Waluigi's a funny person. He's a funny Nintendo character for obvious reasons. And then I think around when I got into like middle school, like 6th grade, 7th grade, that's when I started to like do almost 24/7. Not all the time, but most of the time. That's when I started to like get into sketching. I started to put in more time with painting and actually creating semi-original drawings and other drawings I may have gotten from Google. I even remember in 8th grade during my study halls, I would look up like pictures of nature on like Google nature pictures, and I would sketch out the I would basically sketch out that drawing in my sketchbook. I still have that sketchbook that still has all those drawings. And now that I am in 9th grade, I got for my 13th. Wait, no, not 13th. 14th. I got a I got a drawing tablet which you can digitally draw on, which is basically just like coloring but on like a computer. You it's easy to understand, but I started to get into that since I would find it easier to do, and I'm still into and I'm still interested in digital art, I actually prefer it better than like just drawing and like coloring. That's the thing. The I there are some things of art that I do not like. One of them being coloring. I do not like to color, and what I mean by like color is like it depends on what utensils I get. If I get like crayons, okay, what the heck. But if I get like because I want the good stuff. Like I don't want cheap dollar store crayons. I want like high end color pencils if I wanted to color. But but when I did get into digital art, that's when I enjoyed like coloring in things. But since I am like kind of new to digital art, I'm actually just like starting off with the basics by just simply drawing like figures and trying to get like an intro to like coloring and like blending in the colors so it'll look nice. That's what I'm trying to do right now so I can actually create an art piece that does not look like crap. Because that's the thing with like even with like stuff like writers and musicians, you kind of like stare at your work till you hate it. Joking obviously, but that you get the point. But yeah, in my room, I would say like 95% of the artwork is mine. Being like two of the artworks do not belong to me. I have when okay, so I don't know when this was, but we me and my family we went to Disney World and when we were just walking around, I me and my mom stumbled upon like this it wasn't like a full-on art store, but it was like a mini art store where you can buy artworks by not famous artists, but like kind of artists, but like artists who are kind of well known, but not really. But I ended up buying a piece. I won't say the price, but I forgot I don't know who it was by. Like her signature is in the bottom, but I can't really read it that well. But yeah, that's
You
why
sound like
I
you're
ended
10
up
miles
doing.
away from your mic there.
Yeah, I'm moving closer.
I think it's whenever you turn. No, I mean when you did that. I think whenever you turn around or something, you're.
Oh yeah, I think yeah, I turned to my left side apparently.
Yeah, so I
Okay.
wouldn't do that too much because we couldn't even hear what you just said.
Okay, yeah. So in case if you didn't hear me, I what I said was I basically ended up buying one of the pieces there, and I don't know who it was by since I can't really read her signature, but I it was something that I liked. So yeah, I haven't actually been to an art gallery, but I would be interested in going so I can just judge or I won't really judge it. I don't really if it's as long as it's not because my likings of art is as long as it does not involve like to it if it doesn't look so like here, I'm gonna rephrase it. I usually do not like paintings with a lot of pop colors, like hot pink and like very bright blue stuff like that, because it kind of doesn't really go well because you're not given a lot of options to like blend those not characters colors into other colors, and it kind of I don't know why I just don't like it, but yeah, and then. Yeah, and yeah, I talked about my least favorite kind of art. I guess I can go on to my favorite. Um, I've always been sketching for years, so I'm kind of used to it, and I do enjoy it. And now since I've been getting into digital art, I do like that as well. In fact, the the school that we moved to actually offers um like digital art and 3D animation. So I'm gonna be taking that in my sophomore year, so I can learn about so I can learn more about digital drawing and even animation. So I'm able to make like little small animations. I don't see myself working for an animation company. I just want to know how to animate so I can like make little animations to so I can just make myself happy, I guess. But
Well, and if you're a small indie animation person, you can, if you show people work anyway, you can charge the big bucks to if they want something animated.
yeah, since animation is kind of hard because it's a hard talent because it involves so much. You have to do so much to be able to get things right, and if you mess one thing up, you have to like start over. But but I'm willing to do that since I am not afraid of big challenges like that.
I mean, it's not so much a challenge; it's more so just a endurance test because you have to, like you just said, you have to, um, like it's a test of endurance because you have to, like, sometimes you're gonna fail and you're gonna have to restart the entire thing, or sometimes you're gonna fail and you're gonna have
Yeah.
to restart an entire section that just took you 2 hours to do. So it's not so much a challenge, but it's more so just like a can you get through this kind of thing.
Yeah. I'm kind of used to that because I would work on like an artwork that took me 2 hours, and if I messed something up, I wouldn't want to stare at it. I wouldn't want to stare at the mistake and just be like, it's good enough. I would want to get rid of it and just make a new one. I don't do that too often, but it's happened enough times where I'm kind of used to it. But that's all. Practice makes perfect, I guess.
Yeah, I think for for many different things, that's how it works. Yeah,
Yeah.
as I mentioned this on both the podcast and YouTube, that I hate physical art. I can draw you a stick figure and that's about it. And I can draw like little 2D birds where that's just a V basically. Um,
Yeah.
and so I don't do any of that crap because I'm not gonna devote myself to that. But I can do digital art because I took graphic design, so I do all sorts of that kind of stuff. But when it comes to digital art, I like all the posters I've designed for like the season finale, or not the season finale, the seasons or whatever. Obviously, I do the thumbnails for all the season finales and stuff, so I do all that kind of stuff. Um, but I'm much
Yeah, those
more
posters look sick.
I'm much more intuitive when it comes to digital art because I cannot do physical art for the life of me. So I stick to digital
Yeah,
stuff.
which is fine because I think I have some friends at school that are good at like sketching, but they don't like digital, and there's some people who are the opposite where they like digital but do not like sketching, which is fine. You get used to the kind of style that you like. And that's the thing, like you don't have to draw like Picasso or anything. You the first thing in art, like the very first thing into art is like finding your like style of drawing. Like some people like to draw their characters in like a cartoony way. People like to do it draw the characters in like a realistic way, like actual realistic human. And some people and those who like to draw in like an anime style, which is kind of what my style is. I just don't make it hyper realistic, but I do make it a bit more realistic than like your average like anime styles you've seen. And yeah, not everyone would have the same style, and that's okay. That's the thing about art. Everyone you may like. the whole reason why it's amazing is because you get to do whatever the heck you want with it. You can make whatever the heck you want with it. You can, heck, you can like draw. You can draw like two. You can draw two men fighting on like Gotham City, and just add a Ender Dragon in the background. Like you can do that, and no one can stop you. That's the good.
Well,
That's the fun thing about it.
until you try and sell it, and then the law will stop you because
Yeah,
you can't sell
but
other IPs.
yeah, you can't sell it, but you can definitely make it.
Yeah, like the posters, for example, and like people might not have noticed this, but they were all in different styles. So the season 6 one, for example, where it's the girl in the forest, that's more of a realistic looking style. Whereas I think it's season 8 where Monica's crossing the bridge, that's more of like a cartoon slash anime style. I wouldn't go so far as anime just because that's not really what it is, but it's more so just like a cartoon. I wouldn't even say cartoon. It's a weird mix of cartoon.
It's like a combination of cartoony and anime, but they don't, but like it doesn't weigh in one side or another. It's kind of like in the middle.
Yeah, that's because I wanted it to look appealing. I wasn't really worried about the style of it overall, because I when it comes to making the posters, I know, like, again, the ARG has been planned ahead of time. Like there's a lot of stuff that I know ahead of time. And so when season 8 was approaching, I was like, okay, I got to do the poster. I know what's going to be in it. I know what it's going to be about, and I know what I need to put in it, because obviously when it comes to the poster, there's going to be stuff in it that people are going to dissect, and they're gonna be like, ooh, what does this mean? Like that kind of stuff. And so when I made them, I obviously knew that was going to happen. So in preparation for that, I made sure that every detail that I added it fits with the story. It wasn't just going to be something that was like, oh, well, this would look cool for this purpose. And obviously not like the posters don't, in this, like, it's not going to be a moment that's exactly going to happen. Like sure, Monica got to the human world, but that's not, the poster itself kind of shows, oh, she's crossing like a rainbow bridge, or not a rainbow bridge, but like she's crossing a bridge with like super colors in the back. Like obviously she just kind of spawned in a random field. But what the poster was symbolizing was that event was going to happen in the first place. So if people look deep enough into it with the details that they're given, because like I said, I make sure each detail is minutely selected, then you can kind of sort of predict sort of what might happen. And there's like a lot of, obviously with the older posters that dropped, I don't know about recently for you guys, but it's recently for us, where the season 1 to 5 posters dropped. Like since those are very new, and since seasons 1 to 5 already happened, you can kind of notice some details that are like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You gotta, in order to actually make a good art piece that shows the certain like feelings slash emotions that you want, you gotta put in that amount of effort to really showcase that, so the people that you're showing it to can feel that and understand what's going on in the picture.
Yeah, and obviously I like all of them because I made all of them, but I don't. My favorite one, I think so far at least, is the season 8 poster. The season 8 one turned out really well. It's obviously like season 8 itself was like a capstone for the ARG. Like it was it's Monica redoing exactly what she said she was going to all the way in season 1. And obviously, we're on season 8. Like it's been, because obviously I think season 5 that started the 5-week thing. I think so. Which if that's so, that's kind of hilarious. But if we count like the weeks, right? Because there's 10 weeks in each season, including the season finale. So there's 10 weeks. And then there's 5-week breaks, because obviously I want to focus on other things as well. And also it gives me time to build more pieces of the story. But if we count that, like I'm not going to do it right now, but it's over the span of 2 years, basically, I want to say. Which is pretty insane. So like the fact that we've made it this far, like I said, Season 8 was a huge capstone moment for the story as a whole because all the way back in Season 1, Monica's goal was to get to the human world for one way or another, and she managed to do it. That kind of thing. And like I said, the story is ever evolving. So like obviously, especially when it comes to sections where you, the viewers, get to choose, or you get to have some sort of impact on it. Then like obviously I need. So when it comes to those things, I don't think I've ever mentioned this, but essentially what I do is, let's say there's two choices that you have. Like think of like the refuse/give soul option. Like that was only back in season 4. In that season, you had like Chara was trying to get Frisk's soul, and like you know what happened. But basically, what I did was I didn't know which one was going to be canon because whatever one was the most watched was the canon one, and by far the Give Soul one was more viewed. So I'm like, okay, so I guess they're choosing that one, and in lead up to that, I made sure to craft both story branches just in case the other one won, or just in case the just in case the refuse option won. So the refuse option, there's an entire story tree that was planned. There was entire dialogue trees that were planned if that one had won. There was the entire story itself would have been changed. So I had to make sure that I built both stories just in case one of them won. And so anytime you see a choice like that, just know that behind that story that you're seeing is a whole other story that you're not going to see because you didn't vote for that other option or like whatever. So, then you might be like, well, this isn't art. What are you talking about? But it's like digital art. When you talk about digital art, that can also apply to like digital story creating, because art is such a broad term that it can be like music is art, video like content creation is art if you think about it. Editing is art, like all that kind of stuff. When you talk about digital art, that's such a huge margin. And so that's why I got on the topic of the ARG, because like I said, it's and also I can't talk about the ARG with John or Axel because they're not obviously involved, right? They watch it, but they're not actively involved like Isabel is. So it's a little different where I can talk about it here as opposed to the other ones we did. So yeah, it's just all about creating. It's all about creating two different stories, and like I said, once the right story is chosen, then great, we move on with that story tree. But there's always a second story tree with the other option that you didn't get because you chose the other option.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, since art has so many like categories into it, you can like, if you like Zachary, he does music, which he would kind of be like a music artist if that's what he's trying to do. And like for you, with you creating the posters and like everything involved in the ARG, that's also a form of art. But because when you think of art, most people think of like, oh, drawing, like just drawing like a sun or something, or like something in the concept of that. But that's not what I mean, it is what that is something of art, but that's not what it totally is, because there's so many other components of art that many people can do that oh my god, I can't talk. That just does not involve drawing on a piece of paper with a pencil. It can be like digital art, it can be creating music, it can be anything really. But yeah, that's the thing I like about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of different avenues and stuff. But on the topic of the ARG, let's talk about that, because obviously, we're not revealing any secrets or anything. Not that Isabel knows any secrets. She literally is just as in the dark as you guys are.
Yeah, I'm just a viewer.
Aside from like if we do an ARG podcast, she'll know what the topic is, but like that's really about it. And so, but yeah, speaking of the ARG, let's talk about that for a little bit.
Sure.
So, I mean, for us, as we're recording this, the Season 9 finale is right around the corner, but for you guys, it's already happened. We could even be in Season 10 right now, I don't know. But, When it comes to seasons, would you say you have a favorite? Not the season
Favorite
finales, like
season?
in terms of the overall season itself, not just the season finale. Like the season finale might
Hmm.
play a part in your favorite, but like I'm talking about the entirety of that season.
That's a good question. Hmm. I haven't actually put too much thought into it, but if I must pick one, I'm gonna go with I'm probably gonna go with season 8. That one, like, the story was very well done. Like, even like the suspense of, oh, will Monica's team actually make it this time? Will she, like, is she going to do it? Like, stuff like that just gets you so involved into the story, even though it's just a fictional story involving like video game characters and even some of your own characters, like, because I think you mentioned sometimes when you get what I think it was in Far Cry 5, when you get like when you have feelings or emotions for like some of the characters, that's when you know like you're so connected into the story that you just start either sympathize like you start feeling angry about the characters like when when some of the bad guys would try to kill some of Monica's team members, we would all say no, don't do it, and we would just get angry about it because we don't want them to die, and that's a sign that we're so involved with the story that we're just we're just suddenly feeling those emotions for fictional characters that are not in real life. Like that's the thing I like about stories, because a good story is when you feel those things, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, I mean, seasons eight, like I just mentioned, was one of my favorite posters to design. Um, like I said, I mentioned that season eight was a pretty big capstone because ever since season one, Monica's goal was to get to the human world, whether be through hell or high water, and she did it in the end. And obviously we're in the as we're recording this, and again I don't know what it's like for you guys right now, but as we're recording this, we're in the midst of season 9, so things are still going, and yeah, so obviously it's gonna be interesting because obviously if you watch the season 8 finale, then you know what happens. If you don't, then what are you doing? Um, but if you have, then you know that it's kind of like a you won, but at what cost kind of thing, because
Yeah.
obviously Monica's entire teammate or entire team was held up by MDAC. So,
Yeah,
well,
she
well,
was the
not
only one that made.
yeah, she was the one that made it. But what I meant to say was that they didn't get held up by MDAC. Like they did, but like Monica, like her team was like, no, go ahead, we'll hold him off for now, because they knew that if they all just went, they wouldn't make it. So they it's one of those scenarios, and like movies do this all the time. I shouldn't say all the time, but like good movies do this sometimes, where like they're in a situation that's like they know they can't get out of if they all go, and it's better to sacrifice one person or some people so that somebody can accomplish the mission, whatever that mission may be. And then obviously in this case it was to get to the human world because they knew that their one chance of doing so was about to be gone if they didn't go for it.
Yeah, that's that's a very good story, like building up, because some movies they don't do it very well. They try to attempt it, but they kind of fail at it. But when some movies or like TV shows actually do it very well, it just makes the story 10 times better. Because obviously it's kind of a thing that you would expect, if they but if they do it in a way that even you can't expect like 90% of the actions, that's just very that's just very amazing storytelling, and that just makes you like the story even more, and it'll make you want to like watch more of the story when it actually comes out.
Yeah, and I think that's like we mentioned earlier, where when it comes to the characters themselves, and I think it was either Far Cry 5 or it was like the beginning of New Dawn, where new characters were being, where like the new story was building. But yeah, when you know you're invested in a story when you care about the characters in some sort of way, whether you care about them in a good way, it doesn't matter because you can still hate a character, and that means you're still connected to the story. Because if you hate a character, that means you're actually passionate about what they're doing. You're passionate about them like being stopped or whatever you feel like needs to happen with them. Whatever it is, you feel that, for typical bad guys, they need to be stopped. They need to be either stopped entirely or even killed, depending on the story. So when it comes to that kind of stuff, you're invested when you have that kind of feeling towards a character. And then on the opposite end, you like the heroes when they're like, they're I mean, heroes are kind of easy to like because obviously they're doing good, they're all that kind of stuff. That's why I've tried to eliminate the idea of good versus evil. Sometimes there's people that can be both. Sometimes there's people that are neither. They're not really good or bad. They're kind of just neutral. And people are starting to figure. I'm not going to confirm anything, but people are starting to figure out that now that Char's gone, Jevel's become neutral. He doesn't really care about either side. And it's one of those things that the world's not just black and white like some Disney movies will tell you. They're like, oh, there's good guys and bad guys, nothing in between. But with my story, or with the ARG, I should say, I've always tried to make sure people understood that it's not just about good or bad. There's just neutral parties in all this. So.
Yeah, another good thing I like about like games or like movies is when the author slash game creators add good diction into the characters, like, and that would be like diction that would basically means like your specific choosing of words. Like a good example is in Far Cry 5 when you go and confront Joseph after you killed all of his family, when he goes on and gives out his speech about, oh, was it worth it in the end? That like those kinds of words in any character, no matter if they're good or bad, even if they are bad, that just makes it better. Like, because we mentioned this a lot in the when we played Far Cry 5, that when Faith would like warn you, hey, your actions actually matter, and you like, is it worth it or whatever, like stuff like that. That's what really gets to the player in a good way, obviously, but it just adds more character into the characters instead of just being a boring your average villain that just wants to rule the world or whatever. Instead of just like doing that, you would add those characteristics and certain certain words that they say in like a speech. That's what makes them as a character really interesting, and can also make you have those feelings for that character, even if they're good or bad. It can make you hate them. It can make you love them very much, like as a character. And that to me is a very good kind of story building. But that's just my opinion. I'm not a writer or anything. Ethan's the professional over here with the writing.
Yeah, well, I mean, building a good story comes down to a multitude of different things. Like, is your story good enough to warrant emotional changes in the viewer? Is it good enough to warrant like people to talk about it? Because if your story's forgettable, then no one's going to talk about it. It's going to die as soon as it gets released. But when it comes to the ARG specifically, obviously there's some existing, like a good majority of them are existing characters, so they already have existing personalities, they already have existing morals, they already have existing whatever. Um, so like when it comes to using their knowledge from the thing, it's very interesting. The challenge comes though is because they're game characters, because they're characters that already exist, you have to build your story based upon those characteristics. So, like Monica, for example, she's not going to go around killing somebody because she can. That's not what she did in the game. She just killed. She killed. She didn't. She killed people. She didn't. She didn't. She didn't directly kill anybody. So second degree murder. It's not as bad as first degree. But either way, it's like she kills people unintentionally, sort of. But she wouldn't go. She's not the type of person to just go around killing willy nilly because she feels like it. Kind of like what Herobrine almost does. So if I were to swap the roles, people would be like, this is not realistic at all. Monica would not do that sort of thing, and Herobrine's not the good guy. Why is this happening? So like people would be massively confused. And so it just comes down to that kind of stuff. Like you have to stay true to the story, but at the same time you can build off the game story and try to see what you can do with it. So, wall bases. I don't even know what that is. Oh.
Oh, it's these like concrete things at the very bottom of the structure.
Yeah, I see them. I'm trying to look for them.
Oh, I think I found it.
Oh, there we go. That said wall bases plural, so I'm like, oh, there must be multiple, but there's not. So if I hit escape, I don't know if it's gonna work for you because it apparently doesn't really in co-op, but you can see the time lapse. But yeah, so that's the fire station. So we do this is the first video for you guys. They're split into two videos. We do two places in one game here.